Today we'll talk about limit existence, then limit of a piecewise function, and limit of absolute value function, right? Absolute value function. So let's start with limit existence. So how can you tell that limit does not exist or it exists, right? How do you tell? So first you have to, let's say you have limit x approaching to, let's say, a for any function for f of x. First you have to go for left side and right side, and if both of the values from left side and right side are the same, then limit exists, and if it doesn't, that means it does not exist. So let's say you have limit x approaching to a from left side, f of x is exactly the same as limit x approaching to a from right side, f of x, then limit exists. If it does not, if they have different values, that means limit does not exist. Okay, does not exist, does not exist. So you can just D and E, does not exist. Okay. So how do let's look at a graph that will give you the answer, clear view. So here, let's say this is the f of x function, right? This function, this one is the f of x function. Now it says limit x approaching to a. What is f of x? This means we have to go from the left side here, limit x approaching to a from left side for f of x. Here it just, you see, it never touches a, so this means it's going to be infinity, negative infinity. However, for this one, limit x approaching to a from right side for f of x is going to be simply, it never touches a, right here from the right side. When it comes from right side, positive infinity. So this one and this one is not same, because it's negative infinity, this is positive infinity. So limit of f of x, x approaching to a, does not exist. Hopefully you guys understand it clearly. Let's do another practice that will give us proper explanation. For this one, when you have, say, when you plug in the values of limit, and you see that you have the function you get undefined, that is also, that's when also the limit does not exist. For this one, let's say we have, if we plug in value x equal x1, right, approaching to 1, so it's going to be simply 1 square plus 3 times 1, and here 1 square minus 1, which is 1 plus 3, 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is undefined function, right? Undefined. So this function is does not exist. Okay. If you guys want to check it, what if you guys do the factorization and you see, it will give us the same thing. Let's say limit x approaching to 1. If you factor out x, you get x plus 3. In denominator, you get x minus 1, right? When you factor out x cancel out, you get simply limit x approaching to 1 is just x plus 3 over x minus 1. So it's going to be 1 plus 3, 1 minus 1, which is 4 over 0. It's the same thing. So that's mean it is undefined. Also, this also gives us limit does not exist. Okay. Here is the clear view of this explanation. Now, let's do this one. Here, limit x approaching to 0, 1 over x. So 1 over 0. This is also undefined. So this limit also does not exist. And if you do graph, you will see from negative side, it will give you negative infinity, and the positive side, I mean right side, it will give you positive infinity. So this means from left and right row, you will get the limit does not exist. Now, however, here is the explanation. Now, what happened when x goes to infinity of x, right? If you do the graph, you'll see, since x is 0, y is 0, it's going to be something like this, right? The graph. So when x approaching from left side, so limit x approaching to infinity, you see why we get negative infinity, because this goes this, right? So x approaching to from negative infinity of x is, we get negative infinity. But when, let's say 0, x, y. But when x approaching to positive infinity, so that's when x approaching from here, right, to the positive side to infinity. So limit x approaching to positive infinity, we got positive infinity, right? When the negative infinity, when it approaching from negative infinity, you get negative infinity. When approaching to positive infinity, you get positive infinity. So this means this function is also undefined. You get infinity, right? Undefined. So this is does not exist. Okay. This function is also does not exist. Here's the clear view. You guys can see it. Now, let's talk about piecewise function. Piecewise function is exactly from left side and right side of limit test. If you do that, you will find out the answer. If let's say from left side and right side you have different values, that's mean limit does not exist. Let's look at an example. Let's say we have this example, right? So here it says that x approaching to 1 for f of x. We have to find it. So first we have to find out x approaching to 1 from negative side for f of x. For that we have to use this function. Since is x is here, x is less than 1. That's mean x approaching from left side here. Left side for 1 to 1, right? So we're going to use this function. So we have x squared. So it's 1 squared plus 3. So plus 3, which is 1 plus 3 is 4. Now, we're going to do x approaching to 1 from right side. So we can use this function since x is more than 1 here, right? So we can just say here x approaching from right side to 1. So we have 4 times 1 here, right? This is the function. So we get 4 times 1 is just simply 4. So here from f approaching to 1 from left side for f of x has the same value as x approaching to 1 from right side for f of x. So this function exists and this is 4. Limit x approaching, this limit exists. So now let's so let's just write down clear 4. So now let's talk about this function. When f of x approaching to 2, what is the limit of f of x? So let's say first we have to do from the negative side. So we have to use this function since x is less than 2. It's going to be left side, right? So x approaching to 2 from left side for f of x is just going to be simply 4 times 2, which is 8. And x approaching to 2 from right side and limit f of x will be simply this function since x more than 2. So it's going to be x cubed plus 8, right? We're going to have to use it. So what is x cubed? So it's going to be simply 2 cubed plus 8, which is 8 plus 8, which is 16, right? So this one and this one, they are not equal, right? They are not equal. So this function does not exist. Okay, it exists only when both of them are equal. Okay, so this is the clear view of our explanation. Now can you guys do this one? If you guys can find out the limit of this function, write down in the comment section. Let's talk about limit of absolute value function. Okay, so whenever we see the absolute value function, we just simply write it down in a piecewise function. For let's say for this function, so you can just write down this function is a piecewise function like this: f of x equal negative x plus 2, right? Since it's absolute value, and x plus 2. Here, since x approaching to 2, so negative x plus 2 if x is less than 2. Here x simply x plus 2 if x is more than or equal to. That's mean here for this function x is approaching from negative side. For this function x is approaching from positive side. So since x is approaching from negative side here, it's going to be simply this function. So it's going to be negative 2 plus 2, which is negative 4. And here it's going to be simply 2x plus 2. Since when it comes from right side, it's going to be this function. So 2 plus 2 is just simply 4. Since they are not equal, limit x approaching to f of x does not exist. Okay, this is the clear view of our explanation. Now can you guys do this one? Write down in the comment section. Thank you.